there is that need for validation, right? There's that need for being certified or verified and so on. Again, where does that stem from? Where does that come from? How is it arising? If you let go of the need for validation, if you let go of the need for, this approval, that's what it is. It's a need for approval. And I believe it comes from a sense of self-worth that's present in the mind. And it's been built up because of our experiences with our parents. The need to say, like, I have to be certified as, or I have to be verified, or I have to be validated as somebody being awakened, then that's another process of seeking. That's another process of searching. As soon as you let go of that and you have total, and that's why I was talking about it, you have total acceptance, which means acceptance of you as you are, acceptance of things as they are, and acceptance of people as they are, then that's another aspect of awakening. You're just totally okay with it.
Hello, Delson.
Hello,
How wonderful to meet you.
you as well. I'm glad to be here.
Today I'm speaking with Delson Armstrong. Dan Delson is a meditation teacher. I don't know much about you. I just looked at you, wrote a few books. One of them is called A Mind Without Craving. So it's really something that speaks to me. And that's, I haven't read it yet, but I would love to read it. And the other one is called Dependent Origination. So
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here. When I got the email about you wanting to interview me for this podcast, I recognized your name right away because I think you were part of or you still are, I'm not sure, but you were part of the Liberation Unleashed forum. And that's really how it's one of the beginnings of my journey, where I had I had browsed through the forum and also gotten some guidance from there. So it's almost like I've come back full circle by meeting you now, all these years later.
amazing. When was that? Long time ago.
Oh, I think this was in 2012 or 13, something around
Oh,
that
right
time.
at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yes, yes.
Interesting. Well, so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
it's
very
called
much.
Awakening Now.
That's
And
right.
it's all about awakening
Right now, right here, right
right
now.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to start with, I would like to ask you your definition of awakening.
Yeah. I see awakening as, I have to say first, I like one of the definitions that I came across by a Theravada Buddhist monk named Bhante Punaji. And he called awakening, or, because their tradition talks about nirvana, awakening. When somebody asked him what that means, he said it means awakening from the dream of existence. And I thought that was a very poetic way of looking at it and very actually apt way of looking at it. Because in my mind and from my understanding, awakening it's it happens right now, right here. I mean, it's something that is beyond just words, beyond just concepts, beyond just ideas. And that's the only drawback, because there's so many ways we can point to awakening and what that means. What I would say is that awakening definitely creates a shift in one's view of all experience in this world. And, some people call it non-duality, some people call it the emptiness experience, some people call it the experience of seeing things as they are, and so on. But I think from an experiential standpoint, in my experience, Um, Awakening is nothing more than seeing things in a very impersonal way. There's a tendency for majority of minds to see things as this belongs to me, that I am a person, that I am, um, you know, a human being. I am American. I'm an Indian. I'm a male. I'm a man. I'm a woman. Whatever it is, all of these different identities. And then there's the tendency for the mind to say, I own this. This is mine. This is my person. This is my mother. This is my father. This is my house. This is my computer, and so on. And then there's a tendency to identify with those relationships, and every experience that we have, there's this there's this uh, sense of I, this sense of me somewhere that is always calibrating all experience from that viewpoint. And so awakening is turning the lens back and seeing that what we're experiencing as the me, as the myself, as the mine, is actually just an expression, an impersonal expression of all experience, trying to understand it. That's the way I see it. And then when you have that understanding of awakening, when you have that experience of awakening, then it's not like you don't see things as mine. It's not like you don't see things as me. It's not like you don't see things as this is me, this is mine. But because you still use those terms, you still use those terminologies, you still use those words. But what changes is that grasping quality, that sticky quality of that identification process. So pure and simple, I would see awakening as the dissolution of the idea that there is a me there, that I am there.
Wonderful. Thank you. I don't know, something happened to your sound again. It's a bit choppy. Is it
Okay.
earbuds or something?
Yeah, maybe I'll take the earpods off.
Let's try, because it's a little bit.
How is this? Is this better?
Oh my God, that's like you came out of a bucket.
Okay, good. Now we have awakened. This is true awakening.
Oh, here we go. For somebody who is seeking for this awakening and can't stop watching all these videos, reading books, going to retreats for many, many years, like, how is that even possible that there is no me? Here I am. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about identification. What is that identification? How that works, and what is there that identifies?
Yes, this is a good exploration, because the process of identification, when we talk about it as some kind of process, there's a subjectivity that's there. So I am seeing you, and so now there is an subject object. So I, as a subject, am seeing you as the object. And that's just the way things work in terms of the six senses, right? We have the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and then even the mind. And it's, for the most part, inescapable for all experience to be felt through one or more of these six senses. And so what we see it as is experience. And then what happens is we then create an image around that experience mentally. We create concepts around that image based on what we've learned in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see the color red, I'm perceiving it as red because in school I learned it as the color red. And my way of looking at red might be different from your way of looking at red, and so on and so forth. But very simply put, that's the perception that follows, the concepts that follow based on my memory and learning of these experiences, what these experiences are. So I qualify these experiences through my mind. Then there is a process that takes all of that and says that I am the one who's experiencing this, that this experience feels pleasant to me. It feels good to me. And that too is a learned experience. It's a learned process through my many days, weeks, months, years of being in this life. And I take it to be, oh, there is somebody here. This is me that is looking at it. Now, what happens is, even when somebody is reading books for many years, watching different talks, listening to different, podcasts and listening to different teachers, there's a whole other world of concepts that are created from that. And so it's like, oh, okay, so you're saying there is no self. Okay, so now the mind is implanted with the idea that there is no self. But that too is a viewpoint. That too is a perspective that becomes part of the identity. So it's a natural process for all beings, I would say, to create this division of subject object, and then to want to own it, to want to make it mine, to make it mean. It's a process, and there's nothing wrong with that process. That's the other thing to understand.
Pretty useful, in everyday
It
life.
is very, I mean, otherwise, how are you going to navigate through life? How are you going to converse with people? How are you going to do a podcast?
Exactly.
So there's no judgment against, there's no value judgment against the idea of, that there's a self there, or that there is some identity there. The problem, let's say, or the challenge that arises is when that becomes reified. And what I mean by that is that becomes like the me, that now it's something that I need to defend to such an extent that if anybody says anything to me, or if I'm challenged, or if something feels harmful, then I cringe, I wince. And so now I create other concepts around it and so on. So awakening is just seeing all of that and being okay with it. So learning, well, you could say learning, but also understanding through a process of experiencing through this new lens, through this new perspective of how to navigate that and not get caught up in it, not get caught up in that whole process. So it's like it can be a flash of insight where, oh, now I see, okay, this is what's going on. And then the mind relaxes into it. And because of it, and this is how I posit it, is that there's a spontaneity to everything after that. Before, everything was coming from like the sense of self. And so now it was like, I have to think about how to produce my actions based on what I want. But now, because you're able to have this clearer picture, you are navigating through this experience that we call life in a very intuitive way, in a way that is spontaneous, in a way that is beneficial, let's say, to you, nothing wrong with that, but beneficial for others. Not because you want it to be that beneficial, but because everything starts to smoothly flow in that process, in that way.
Beautiful. Could you share a little bit how that realization showed up in your life? What happened?
It's interesting. For me, it showed up in so many different ways. I've had so many different experiences, non-dual experiences, starting from, let's say, in 2011 or 12, when I joined Liberation Unleashed, I was going through this process of being, let's say, guided through what this means. And, I was not able to see what was being pointed out. And then finally the pointing out came about, and it was like, oh, okay, I see now. And it was such an interesting shift in my perspective, that for a few days I was just observing things as they are or as they were at the time. And it was like a very sort of like I was reborn. Like I like everything was new, everything was fresh again because of this new perspective. And I have been doing other kinds of practices in tandem to that, which is known as Kriya Yoga. And in Kriya Yoga, because of the intensity of energy that you work with, it takes you to an experience of non-duality, where all of a sudden the sense of I shuts off. The mind feels like it's shut off, and it's like you have. And so, depending upon the perspective of the tradition that you're from, it could be understood that you've become one with the universe or with consciousness or whatever it is. And I also did, let's say, more traditional Dzogchen Mahamudra practices of pointing out the emptiness of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
This was somewhere around the time of 2013. And that kind of was a similar experience to when I saw the concept of self, or this process that we call self that arises. And it was a very deep experience in the sense that it was like I was looking at it, and it was throughout the day, just being able to observe this whole process of how self comes and goes and how it starts to grasp and unclutch.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few other experiences that happened were with my practice with what's known as tranquil wisdom insight meditation, which is based on the Theravadan Buddhist ideas of what nirvana is. And this process is rooted in what's known as the suttas, which are said to be the sayings of the Buddha or instructions by the Buddha. And in that practice, over a course of about a week, I had multiple very interesting experiences, which are known as cessation.
Oh,
And it's a
wow. Mm-hmm.
cessation of total consciousness, where the mind just shuts down again. And when it comes back up, in my experience, there was a seeing of what they call dependent origination, of how this process of self arises dependent upon previous causes and conditions. And so that gives a very deep sort of experience of seeing through the concept and process of self, and also what's known as nibbana or nirvana, which is, let's say, an unconditioned experience. So the unconditioned experience is kind of seen as outside of this whole process of self. It's like the self, or the idea of self, is being uh, reverse engineered,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at what happens in the reverse order of how this process begins, and then also how this process unfolds. So those are like sort of the highlights of my many different experiences of let's say awakening or insight or understanding how self arises.
Oh, how interesting. That sounds like a lot of dedication,
Yeah,
curiosity, and going for it for long.
yeah. I
Cool.
was definitely dedicated. I mean, for a long time. And I think, everybody comes to it because they're looking for something, they're seeking something.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, the one advice that I would give to seekers is that it's wonderful that you're seeking, but then when you are seeking, what is it that you're seeking? What is it that you're searching for? And who is searching what? Right? Because the idea of a seeker, it's like you're on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
You're constantly looking for something. You're constantly searching for that particular thing that's ungraspable. And being ungraspable, the mind, let's say, becomes comfortable in that seeking. And it's just another layer of personality. It's just another layer that becomes, a part of self. And it actually takes you away from what it is that you're seeking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Every time I meet somebody new, like for a session or in a group setting, I always ask this question: what are you looking for precisely? Because I find that all the seeking mind is just looking, it doesn't know what for. But when you really zoom in, what are you looking for precisely? Then you start unfolding and start recognizing what is going on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it takes somebody to say that, focus. What is it?
Yes.
Otherwise, the
Yes.
hamster wheel. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so above everyone else because I'm seeking. Look, I'm better than that drunk guy on the street because I'm seeking. Look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the layers of what I would call, um, spiritual ego, and this whole process of bypassing, because then what happens is then the mind says, okay, I think I've gotten what I wanted, which is this very high attained experience. And now I've seen into the nature of things, and I have a non-dual experience, or I have nirvana, or I've seen the Atman, or whatever tradition you come from. Then there's this sort of couple of things. There's this idea of trying to hold on to that experience because now the self has become very invested in that experience. And then the other thing is there is a sense of spiritual bypassing, right? So now I am above, as you just said, I'm above everything else. So I don't have to go do that. I don't have to deal with that trauma. I don't have to, be in this relationship because it's challenging, because I'm beyond all of that. I don't have to pay my bills. I'm beyond all of that. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. And actually, that's the true awakening. It's a rude awakening, which is actually just because you've had these experiences doesn't mean that you won't be less of a jerk. Doesn't mean that you won't be able to, you will still have to pay your bills. You will still have to deal with emotional trauma. You will still have to deal with relationship concerns and the problems of your life. They don't just go away like that just because you're awakened. But what does change is you have a perspective now, and it allows you to really process and, let's say, do the work instead of bypass it.
Right. Yeah. I think it's difficult for the seekers that there is no magic pill. Just to swallow that pill, that there is no magic pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the blue pill.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a little disconcerting for people because, I've interviewed many people through my process of teaching and meditating, teaching meditation. And they're always, and what happens is, depending upon the tradition you follow, or depending on the tradition that you want to experience, there are these hierarchies and there are these sort of idealizations that happen. So, for example, in Vedanta, there's the concept of the Jivan Mukta. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a concept of the arahat, and so on. And they're said to be, that's your goal, right? You want to become a Jivan Mukta. You want to become an arahat. And then there's all this list of the perfections of such a being, or of the bodhisattva, or whatever it is, and it's like the bodhisattva or the arahat or Jivan Mukta is all compassionate, all loving, is kind all the time. They no longer fear things. They no longer have hatred. They no longer have greed. Um, when you see them, they're radiant and everything they do is perfect, and they're always aware and awake at all times. Again, all concepts, all idealizations. And, this was a question that was asked. I was doing a Q&A session yesterday, and somebody asked me this, like, what are the differences and personality changes you will see between these levels of awakening? because in the Theravada tradition, for example, you have levels. And I
Mhm.
said, if I were to tell you that, it's like me telling you that an arahatta wears a red cap. And what's going to happen? Everybody's going to want to wear a red cap. So if I try to give you an idea of what this perfection represents, then all you're going to do is want to emulate that. You're going to try to become that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it's always that seeking of an idealization that we have to look at and understand and observe. And then actually that dissolves, and the seeking becomes less of wanting to be someone or wanting to have something, and more of just being here, being present, and understanding things as they are.
Mhm. Yeah. Ah, as you were talking, what came to mind is that, some people have this pattern or conditioning of being perfect out of need for security, out of conditioning by parents, but then perfect me, the picture of perfect me. And if a seeker knows what is arahat or the end of rebirth or whatever, that's just even more perfect me. And that image is never attainable, but it's so welcoming for the perfectionist, which is
Yes.
which is actually quite painful because that doesn't help at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, nobody's perfect in that way. I mean, we are humans here, living a
Yes.
messy human life among other messy humans in that
Yes.
way. Yeah.
Everything that people do in terms of techniques and processes and being in the moment and observing and mindfulness and so on is just another pattern, right, of that need to do something. I have to do something in order to achieve something, which is that perfected idea of the me. And so if we can see those patterns, there is a lot of relief in that, like just realizing, oh, these are just patterns, and then being okay with it. In other words, it's like, okay, yeah, I have issues that I have to deal with, but I'm no longer going to get bogged down by them by trying to escape from them. These are all kind of just escape modalities from the reality and the situation that is. People go to therapy, for example, because they want to deal with their problems. Some might do it because they want to escape from them, or they want to rationalize it, or whatever it is. Some people join satsangs because they want to be part of a community. They want to be part of some kind of an experience together. But all of these are, in some sense, coping mechanisms to escape from the me, escape
Yeah.
from the reality of the me.
Yeah. So what would life without craving look like?
Ah, yes. So, what is craving? When we try to look at what craving is, a mind without craving means that it's okay if craving is there.
Uh-huh. So it's not getting rid of the craving, it's getting rid of craving for the craving to go away.
That's right. That's right.
Like different
Uh,
level.
yeah, because there's resistance to that idea, right? I mean, creating the idea that I have to let go of craving. Now there's somebody who's craving the letting go of craving.
Mhm.
And so craving is another concept insofar as what we look at craving as. The old traditions talk about craving as the mind that inclines and becomes obsessed by an experience. Well, I would say that the mind that keeps looking for that perfection has craving,
Mhm.
right? That's one kind of craving. So craving is seeking, craving is searching for something. Craving is the desire to fulfill something, but it never is fulfilled. It never is satisfied. It never is content. So in a very practical way, a mind without craving, for the most part, has a quality of contentment, number one, a quality of acceptance, second, and a quality of being okay with things as they are.
Yeah. It's rather than playing 2D chess, you suddenly realize there is a 3D chess.
Yes, exactly.
So all that the 2D can just go as it goes. There's this stepping back,
Yes.
seeing the whole picture. Not what's
Yes.
going on as you are drawn into the pattern, but the whole pattern is being observed.
Yes. And without judgment, without value judgment, without trying to make sense of it, just seeing it, just to see it as the scene.
Yeah. Sometimes it's only a stopping is needed.
Yeah.
Stopping. Like, stop right here. What's here?
One of my very good friends and a student of mine. I mean, he had been a student of mine. We were in India together a couple of months ago, and once in a while, I'll just shout out to him, heart, like HEART, because as soon as the mind starts to like get frazzled by this and that, and like go into concepts and very highfalutin discussions about this and that, I'll just say heart, and then it's like, okay, all that drops and just come back here, and so you could use, I mean, it's another kind of mechanism, it's another kind of technique, let's say, but to just stop in that moment and then really feel the relief and then see how none of that was you. None of that was like, it was just an idea of what you think is you. And then all of these other things that come up as a result of it, just heart. And then when I say just smiles or he laughs, and because there's joy in that. And it's stopping and just right here.
It's interesting. It's when you are looking at everything from that place, from the heart space, or from present space, there's some kind of joyful giggle, which is peace. It's just that lightness is here.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it is really about making it fun as well. And I mean, you see some of the old teachers of meditation, and they say, oh, the process of meditation is to end suffering, is to come to that experience of bliss and joy and equanimity and all of these things. But then you look at them and they just have these like very morose, grimace on their faces. They're just very serious and like tensed up and like, okay, so that's what you found in meditation is like being very tense and grasping at things and like holding on to concepts, and God forbid you become fun. God forbid you have a little laughter and a sense of humor and be able to just enjoy life as it comes. And whatever that means, I mean, that's another thing. A lot of people say, okay, how else would you know if somebody's awakened? How else would you know if this level of awakening? And I say this sometimes in a very cheeky way or facetious way, but I also think there's some truth to it, which is, you get more and more awakened to the degree that your sense of humor gets better and more open, right? Because that really is the case. Like if you're able to have fun with the things that you're doing right now, then you actually stop seeking. in that moment when you're having fun and enjoying whatever is happening and experiencing that, that giggly joy, or just even experiencing a level of like relief with being with whatever is going on, in that moment you have like presence, you have the presence of awakening, you have the presence of like, this is what it is, this is what you've been looking for, is the happiness, is the joy, is the fun, so I would like to remind people, like, please have fun with it, just enjoy yourself first and foremost.
That's very sound advice. Yeah, because when there is seriousness, there is no fun.
Yeah, life is serious enough as it is. I mean, we already see so many things going on in life. I mean, if you can find some humor in it, if you can find a way to just see it as it is and then be okay with it, then that's the other part of the spontaneity I was talking about in let's say the mind without craving, or the awakened mind, is that spontaneity is also about finding the 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 fun aspect of what is going on, and that spontaneous aspect of the mind, the intuitive aspect of the mind, does it in a way, or it looks at things in a way, or acts in a way that causes natural joy to arise for oneself and for others around them. It's not because I want to be joyful. It's not because I want others to be joyful, or because the old spiritual texts tell me about this idea of joy. It is true wellspring that's bubbling up naturally and spontaneously from a mind without craving, where it's not seeking, and that's the spontaneous joy that a lot of people talk about.
Yeah, that's a good measure. Okay, you can see other people are talking about all these stages and where you are, where you need to go, and it gets pretty serious, right? And then people don't know, am I awakened or not? Because I'm not there yet. Or maybe I have this intellectual realization, but I haven't got an experience. That's a very common thing.
Yeah.
Like, so how do you know that you're awake? You're having fun. It's as simple as that. Do you think all these levels and descriptions of stages are helpful?
I think to an extent, it helps to navigate the mind, because it create, yes, like I said earlier, it does create like a idealization, and it's difficult for the mind to escape from it. But there are certain pointing out of like to look out for as qualities that arise naturally. Not something that you need to emulate, not something that you have to try for, but more as like, this is what can happen, or this is what is possible for somebody who's awakened. I mean, even now, as we're discussing this, I was talking about the wellspring of joy and spontaneity. What can happen for somebody who's listening to this and is in that seeking mindset? They're going to be looking for and be like, okay, so I need to be more spontaneous. I have to find a way to be more spontaneous. If you have those thoughts of, I have to be spontaneous now, you're missing the point. And so what I look at is that these sort of levels or stages, or, concepts of what it means to be awakened and all of that, I believe are realizations of those masters or those people who've experienced it and are just giving their version of it as they see it, rather than like, this is what I had to go through to experience it. And so what's happened is now that's become solidified as a practice, as a tradition, as a religion sometimes, and so I think we have to see that these things are the realizations of past awakened beings, for lack of a better term, and that those can be pointing instructions, like, this is what to look out for, but not to become it, not to try to become it. So to that extent, I think it's useful for communicating, how it feels like and what it is, but not useful in making it something that I have to attain.
Right. It's like after effect.
The after effect, exactly. Exactly.
Don't seek after effect. I like just to sit and be quiet, and then something for me lands in here. I can perceive it here. That okay, this needs to be said, and it's just being said. That's spontaneity.
Yeah, that's spontaneity as well.
Yeah.
I mean, silence, being in silence and being okay with it is also spontaneity.
But it's being present to what is arising, or what is falling, or what is just showing up, or what's appearing in different words. It's just, we are here as this openness, as this kind, loving space.
Yeah.
And then something shows up, and then how we relate to that. Are we gonna hold on, grasp, don't want to let go, or we just like, okay, this is here right now, this is how it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what comes in, stays, it goes eventually.
Right. Right.
In a way, like if you watch a movie and you are so drawn into the movie that you start thinking that you are directing it, acting it, and writing the script, and the script is not going on as it should, you get really nervous and really serious about it. But if you are just sitting on the sofa enjoying the movie, you don't want to know what happens next.
That's right.
You are amused by what's happening next.
Yeah, you want to be entertained. It's an experience of letting things unfold, not needing to control how the outcome is going to be, or what's going to happen in the end. Is he going to get the girl, or are they going to fail, or this or that? And so that's the process of the mind, always looking, like, okay, I have to control the outcome here. I have to control it to a certain kind of, again, back to the idealizations, back to the idea that, okay, that's my end goal right there. Awakening is my end goal. And now I have to like write the script, as you said, and I have to direct this actor to go towards and experience all of that. And then you lose sight of it, which is, it's all fun and games. It's all just a movie that you're watching. I love that analogy because I use that many times for the process of meditation as well, which is like when people meditate, or in my student base, when they meditate, there's a tendency for them to like take it very seriously and be like, you tell them, okay, be joyful and smile and take it easy and relax. And all they're doing is they're trying to relax. They're wondering, am I relaxed enough? Am I in this stage? Is this the proper posture? Am I meditating in this way? And so on. And they're losing sight of the beauty of the unfolding of what's going on. Even if something like a hindrance, like a disturbing mindset comes up, even if something like craving comes up, even if something like, oh, I don't like this person comes up, or the mind just goes into a loop of different thoughts and ideas and thinking about the future and thinking about this, they feel like, oh, I failed. No, it's fine. It's the process of the mind. You saw it. The fact that you saw it and you experienced it shows that you were present, right? So you got caught up in it. That's okay. Like you would get caught up in a movie, but then at some point, when the credits show up, or maybe you're hungry, or you have to go to the restroom or whatever, you realize, oh, it's just a movie, right? And so that awakeness, that presence of mind comes up again. So, I think people get caught up, as you said, with the movie, they get caught up in how it has to end or how this whole process is.
Yeah.
And they miss the biggest point of it, which is it's already there. It's already there.
So who writes the script? Just tell the secret. I hope it's not Tarantino. Sometimes it looks like. But who writes the script?
Yeah, who's
making it move?
Yeah, who's making move. What? Okay, well, tell me. Okay, so if there is this consciousness that's doing it, then who's the consciousness that knows this consciousness? Then who is the person who knows this and this and this? And it's just like a big, like Tower of Babel kind of like, oh, it's this, then it's this, then it's this, and it's this, and then you have to just let it all humble, right? I
Heart.
mean, yeah, heart. That's it,
Heart.
heart.
It's a magic word. We're learning a new magic word today. I always said magic word is a thank you.
Yes.
Now the
Yes.
magic word is heart.
Heart.
How you do that?
How do you do that? I don't
I
even.
don't know. Somehow like that. Oh, look, the heart's coming out of your screen. All seekers are looking for fireworks. Like if there is no fireworks, if there is no confirmation of that here I am now awake or enlightened, that means it didn't happen. But I think that the fireworks is when you are sitting quietly and mind starts suddenly creating all these interesting stories, images, movies. That's the fireworks. So what we really are looking for is no fireworks. Like when it's quiet. It's kind of opposite.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because again, in my experience of, let's say, teaching, you see it, and that's one of the things, in my talks, in these events, I'll tell people, like, I'll be interviewing you like for 10 minutes, and I'll be trying to understand where you are in your practice and so on. But at the end of the practice, I'm not going to give you a certificate that tells you, congratulations, you're awakened, or you had this experience and all of that. So don't come to me like or an overachiever. Like, I'm going to be grading your results. I'm going to be like taking note of where you've been good and where you've been bad. I'm not doing that at all. So come to me as a friend and tell me what's going on, and then we can explore it together, and then I can give you some guidance. But there is that need for validation, right? There is that need for being certified or verified, and so on. Again, where does that stem from? Where does that come from? How is it arising? If you let go of the need for validation, if you let go of the need for, this approval, that's what it is. It's a need for approval. And I believe it comes from a sense of self-worth that's present in the mind. And it's been built up because of our experiences with our parents, because they're our first interactions of the world. And for a majority of people, they might not get that acceptance. They might not get the approval that they're looking for. And then they look for it from their teachers in school. They look for it from their coworkers. They look at it from their employees or their employers. They look at it from their partners, and the world around. Like, I have to be validated, and it's so innate that, as soon as you let go of it, there is so much relief there, right? There's no need to. I mean, are you supposed to validate you existing as you are right now? Show me proof that you're existing. You have to verify to me that you exist. I have to validate that you exist. I mean, no, you just exist as you are. That's the person you are. That's it. So the need to say, like, I have to be certified as, or I have to be verified, or I have to be validated as somebody being awakened, then, that's another process of seeking. That's another process of searching. As soon as you let go of that, and you have total, and that's why I was talking about it, you have total acceptance, which means acceptance of you as you are, acceptance of things as they are, and acceptance of people as they are, then that's another aspect of awakening. You're just totally okay with it.
And you can know that you need that validation when doubt comes in.
Yeah.
Doubt saying, oh, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe this is not it. But that's just another pattern. And it's kind of a sign that you need a validation.
Yeah. It's just another thought, just another part of the mind. And if you can just see it for what it is, then you just relax into it. I mean, if there's one word that I use more often than not with people in practice, is really to relax and to relax into the experience. Now, that's the other problem. It's another mechanism that people use. And like I was saying earlier, they try to relax because they're doing it intellectually. They're doing it like from the mind where it's like everything is engineered. Okay, so if I just relax this much, then I'll have experience and peace and things like that. Again, but it's spontaneous. It's just like totally just stopping in the moment. Right here. And that's it. Nothing else to be done.
That's it. Nothing else to be said. So if people who are listening, if you are not awake just yet, wake up.
Yeah.
Well, but that's just a joke. I mean,
I
we
know.
all we all at the same level.
I would
Awake
say,
and
yeah,
present.
that's true. That's very true. And I would say the other thing is, my final like advice to people when they start to like go through this process of meditation, I tell them like, what meditation is. What it is basically um anything, meditation, prayer, affirmations, going to satsangs, reading books, self-inquiry, all of the different things that people have done and I've done myself. What it is it's a process to engage that part of the mind that it feels like it needs to do something.
Mhm.
And now that it feels like it's content with doing something,
Mhm.
that's when the real work begins,
Mhm.
which is to do nothing.
Mhm.
That's the most difficult thing for most people is to do nothing. And so you're just engaging, that part of the mind. It's like you're distracting the puppy. Like, okay, go do this, go do that. And then it's like finally it gets worn out. And finally it can just rest and it doesn't have to do anything. And in that not doing anything, there you have it. There you are.
There you are. Right? That noisy monkey needs some toys.
Yeah, that's it.
When it's busy playing or reading, the rest of you can rest. I find that when I wake up at night and I cannot sleep or there is noise or dogs are barking or whatever is going on, I put on some quiet music on my iPad. So that mind that is listening to the dogs rather is listening to the quiet music and then I can sleep. It's
Yeah.
just got its toys.
There you go.
Relax. Mm. And how can people find you if they want to engage with you and work with you?
So I have a website. It's delsonarmstrong.com. And all my information is there, who I am, how they can reach out to me if they want to speak with me, get my books, whatever it is, just go on the website. It's all there.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
My
It has
pleasure.
been fun.
It has been fun, exactly. This is like completely spontaneous, which I always love. I love it. It's amazing.
And everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Tune in next week for more. And if you like, share, or comment, that only helps the channel. So thank you for that. Bye for now. Till next time.